Good evening and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues, a conversation of ideas. Tonight our focus is on a few good men and women, the esteemed occupants of Raj Bhawan. It's now become virtually a round of musical chairs every time a government changes, a clear indicator of how this constitutional post is now treated as just another political position. How can we restore the dignity of the Raj Bhawans? Do we go to the other extreme, abolish this as a waste of taxpayers' money? These are some of the perspectives we look at tonight. Joining me to discuss this is the former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Mr. Virendra Kataria, the former Law Minister and Karnataka Governor, Mr. H.R. Bhardwaj. Also joining me is Mr. Swaraj Kaushal, once India's youngest Governor of Mizoram, now Senior Advocate. Also with me, N.K. Singh, a man of many parts, politician, ex-bureaucrat, author. And with me, Professor Kamal Mitra Chenoy of the Jawahar Lal Nehru University. Thank you all very much for coming in tonight. Mahatma Gandhi had once written that a governor must be seen as more than just a mere figurehead, that he should actually, in their detached position, that governors would be able to see things in their proper perspective and prevent mistakes by their cabinet. He added that theirs must be an all-pervasive moral influence. We've come a long way from there, and Mr. Kataria, you've just had the ignominy of being actually sacked by the centre. You've had the Chief Minister of Puducherry right complaining about the fact that you made appointments, controversial appointments for your daughter-in-law to a key position, that you were interfering in transfers. The ruling government in Puducherry even said that transfers, that there was corruption going on within Raj Bhawan. You've responded very strongly, but how would you say that a governor is now a moral influence?
First of all, I must tell you, every allegation against me is totally false, concocted. Only it has been made to remove me from my office. Secondly, from day one, I fought against corruption. I fought for a fair, transparent and good government. First, I must clarify about my daughter-in-law. She is a social activist for the last 20 years. She is a member of the Lalit Kala Academy. She is a member of the Rajasthan Social Welfare Board. She was appointed as convener of the Lalit Kala Academy for Puducherry unit along with 9 other people. All people were totally honorary. They have not drawn, not my daughter, all 10 of them have not drawn a single penny out of the government account, neither in the shape of salary, nor in the shape of any allowances whatsoever, any perks, any car, any office, anything. She was spending her own money while coming from Jaipur and performing. Her performing art was appreciated by the President.
But moving beyond that to the larger issue of the...
I tell you, it is a hub of corruption.
With the Raj Bhawans, are they?
No, I am not talking Raj Bhawan, about my time.
Oh.
I tell you, the government of Puducherry, it's a hub of corruption. There are 10 colleges, medical colleges, for a population of 10 lakh of people. And you have to pay 2 crore of rupees to get an admission in a postgraduate course, 1 crore for an MBBS course. I write to the Chief Justice, I met him, I write to the Chief Justice of India also. And Chief Minister is a part of that system. He patronized them and he get money for 20 seats.
No, but actually, sir, the most shocking is the fact that the Governor and the Chief Minister have... These are allegations, such serious allegations against both people who in different ways represent different parts of the constitution heading Puducherry. Mr. Kaushal, let me bring you in here because you're also, of course, a senior advocate of the Supreme Court now, but you were governor at 37. Does it pain you that things have come to this situation when these are the charges being discussed and traded?
I feel very sorry that this is being discussed on national channel, especially when the Chief Minister is not here to defend himself.
Absolutely.
This is not trial of the Chief Minister.
Absolutely.
Don't forget that he has the mandate. It is he who went to the polls and got a secret vote. Let's respect his position, and we are trying him in absentia. This is not fair that we should be discussing charges against the Chief Minister. That's not fair. That's not our job.
Okay, so if you can come on that, going beyond the individuals, to elaborate on this issue, that this is now openly being discussed. We all, of course, remember the ignominy of Mr. NDTV and what happened when he was in the Raj Bhawan. It became a joke, but it was a symbol of a larger degradation of an institution. We've seen after that some governors saying that they proclaim their loyalty, they will do anything for a head of a political party. And even now, the new governors that have been appointed by the new government are all career politicians. There's a larger issue at stake here.
Well, let me say, I think that I'd like to make 3 brief points. First of all, I'm also somewhat amazed that, you know, someone like you should make this kind of an allegation against an elected representative, namely the Chief Minister, who has come to this office by virtue of a transparent election which he had. And that if there were such serious grievances, there were other recourses which should have been made instead of on your program. Second, I would say that this is not a matter which has happened in a day. If you look at really the Kataria Commission's report, and I'm sure you would be aware of this, you look at the Kataria Commission's report of 1959, look at successive reports on administrative reforms commissions which have been made, which have dealt extensively on the issue of the governors. All those reports have, through successive governments, not made much of a progress. And those are reports designed to address really some of these endemic issues which you have raised in your brief introductory remarks. So, I don't think it is something which is just episodic. I think that we need to look at it in a historical perspective. Also, because post 1967, that's a new phenomena. What has happened is that pre 1967, there was a homogeneity in the nature of the governance pattern in the center and the governance patterns in the states. Post 1967, regional parties have come into play, and there is a degree of growing asymmetry between the governance patterns at the center and the states. And I think that this is a new kind of a dimension which needs to be addressed somewhat in a historical context. Third and finally, I do believe that I mean, this is the condition which has been mentioned about the educational institutions. Really speaking, I think that these are matters on which we need to have very serious concerns, particularly on the quality of outcomes in respect of our higher educational programs.
In fact, what's fascinating, Mr. Bhardwaj, if you could comment that even the Constitution doesn't lay down really any criterion for anyone to become a governor. You have to be above 35 years of age and a citizen of India, but there's no clear say, for when you even look at eminence, it's clear if you look at the Constituent Assembly debates, the time and thought that had gone into it initially when the Constitution was being formed and this was being decided, that it was seen as persons of eminence. But it has become now all about rewarding politicians or moving on loyalists. I mean, many would say that when you became governor, your main qualification was that you're a loyalist of the Gandhis and the Congress party, and in a sense you carried that forward into Raj Bhawan.
Firstly, there is no doubt I owe everything to Mrs. Indira Gandhi in politics, but I was a lawyer in my own right and she chose me as one of her lawyers, and I could not get elected to any Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. She sent me to Madhya Pradesh as a Rajya Sabha MP in '82 in her own time.
Mrs. Gandhi, also critics say that Mrs. Indira Gandhi actually started this practice of putting loyalists into Raj Bhavans.
No. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, not only Indira Gandhi, in Nehru's time also politicians were appointed. V.V. Giri was my predecessor in Karnataka. So was very eminent ICS officer, Dharamvira.
But he couldn't come surely in the category of being a political loyalist in the sense that
Giri was a politician.
Discussing. I mean, he was the former Dharamvira, was former, you know, he was former cabinet secretary.
I'll tell you what about Rajasthan Chief Minister.
Which one?
Which one? Bhairav Singh Shekhawat.
No, Shekhawat, earlier most famous Chief Minister. He was kept 2 years in Karnataka for as governor.
No, Sukhadia.
Sukhadia. Mohanlal Sukhadia. His picture is there.
Yeah, Mohanlal Sukhadia.
I was surprised how he happened because he was an astute politician. You see, the president appoints the governor and constitution gives qualification and disqualifications, and rest is left to the choice of the president.
But you know, incidentally, if I may say so, one of the most curious things which struck me is that, you know, this government has appointed very eminent politicians to the governor's office. look at, for instance, what happened, with the notable exception of distinguished people like Bhardwaj Sahab, very important governors were by the UPA were ex-police officers. I mean, this is, if you ask me,
particularly in the
quite,
northeast.
quite interesting. In the northeast, no,
Particularly in the
you have
northeast.
Maharashtra, you have other parts of India where former chiefs of the
Yes.
intelligence bureau you had in West Bengal were appointed.
Yeah,
Now, this really, if you ask me, speaks a little volumes in my mind of what qualifications. I mean, I totally agree with you, Bhardwaj Sahab, that the practice of appointing very eminent politicians to the governor's office as something which was started by Pandit Jawahar Lal Nehru
But I
itself.
think that's
But
what
what about
started, yeah,
a former appointment of so many
But they
ex-police
were-
officers?
that
No,
was
but I
the
think
time.
back to the politics, because the very eminent, if you take out, it became about appointing many politicians as well. As you as a law minister, sir, had so many controversial issues which arose
Let me
around
tell you.
So after
I
that,
have
we go to
not
the
spoken
sanctity
on
of Raj
these
Bhawan.
issues.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I have not spoken on these issues which we are discussing today. I never wanted to vacate my Raj Sabha seat and go as governor, but I was not included in UPA 2 government as a law minister, and I was very sad, having done so well for UPA 1, why I was singled out. I expected that when this government has come to power, they will accommodate me as well. But I was told by the Prime Minister, well, sorry, you will not find place. I said, you take oath, I don't mind. Then I said, I have 4 years left in Rajya Sabha. I will continue in your company. Many people do, but then because the leadership decides all these issues, so I was said, report to Karnataka. And you know how unpleasant it was. My whole library is missing. Till today I have not been able to trace my books.
They then stolen, have they?
No, they were kept left in my Bangalore, and servants.
That's very
Now that must be one of the odd
So
side
therefore,
effects.
there is no pleasure in going to Raj Bhawan.
No, it's often the death knell. But
But
Professor,
Bangalore is a nice place to
Professor
live.
No,
you know-
nice, away from home.
no, but
Man
Professor
is a
Chenoy,
social animal.
coming
you-
on actually the more serious issue, it's like a chess game. We can't accommodate you there, so we'll accommodate you here. And often somebody, I think, unkindly described it as
My case
politicians
was
who should be
different,
retired
I tell
and
you.
failed ex-bureaucrats who
I-
go there, or people who are looking
No,
for cushy post-retirement positions.
I think we're scratching the surface. The first thing is that, as Casey we have said, India is not a federal constitution. It's quasi-federal. So there is already a bias in the center. Secondly, there has been a decline of institutions and decline of political practices. Some ways, I'm sure they wouldn't want to repeat it, but they know how many ways governors, like other appointees, have been insulted, disgraced, and pressure put on them. Even like a chap like Ved Marwa when he was in Jharkhand, some of the Jharkhand groups were attacking him all the time. So there is no point
Mr. Gopal
putting
Gandhi in West Bengal.
there's no point putting so much emphasis on governor unless you really let them govern. And in a federal
They're
system,
not meant to govern.
govern in the sense to make sure that the rules of the game are followed.
How do you choose who should be governor? Is it about the way it has come about nowadays? It is about the people who are loyal to the current dispensation, because they know that governors are
but then
crucial for
that is
signing
also-
controversial
but
bills.
that is-
If it's a question of calling of
But what has happened?
Look at the Delhi
because
situation.
governments make governors who are partisan, the institution of governor has declined, because people say these are all yes men who've been appointed, and that in the Constituent Assembly, if you see from Ambedkar to Nehru to K.T. Shah, a whole bunch of people, they said that this should not be done this way. Higher education, I've gone to various states, including Mr. N.K. Singh's state. I mean, what has been done to higher education? What has been done to teachers? And the governor is virtually powerless to do anything, even though he's a chancellor, because there's pressure from the CM or the PM or others. So I think the most important thing is to save the institution of governor, to use it as an additional kind of dynamism for the system, because all governors come with some political experience, very few have none. Now we're doing neither. We're not letting them use their political experience, and we are shuttling governors according to parties. Now that's certainly not what the Constituent Assembly
But
wanted.
has it begun today? See, if you see, it has begun. I mean, there is, of course,
Oh, but
sir, it is-
there
we should
is no,
speak today,
but that is
Sunday.
true. But if you look at the debates in the Constituent Assembly, one of the debates, if you recall, is the issue of elected governors versus nominated governors. And the balance of the judgment in the Constituent Assembly was that, and that famous speech which was made by Mr. Ambedkar and by Jawahar Lal Nehru at that time, opting for the institution of not elected governors, which by the way in many fiscal federal model exists all over the world. In the United States, which is also a fiscal federal model, the governor is the representative. That of course raises, Sonia, the more important question, that the value of the institution as India goes forward. And I think it's still a very valuable institution in terms of the linkage which it provides between the union and the
Will
states.
you permit me to intervene for a second?
Yes, go
Please,
ahead.
I mean,
What is this valuable position of the governor? Kamla Beniwal, it was transferred to Mizoram when she was to retire after 3 months.
Well, it was up to her not to accept it.
No.
Not to go.
It was fully empowered not to go.
I'm
I'm sorry, I don't
Mizoram is
agree
not a
with you.
bad place, I can tell
It was really, if you ask me,
That
that
is a
example
different thing.
is,
That is a
I
thing.
think because she was fully entitled to say, I do not wish to go.
No, but also Mr. Kataria, ironically, Kamla Beniwal is again in controversy because an RTI has just revealed that she's in her term as governor, she's flown to her home city 63 times in 3 years. So in that sense, again raising the question, and Mr. Kaushal, I'd like to get you in on that because you're now a private citizen. When you look as a taxpayer and you think that, okay, we are financing this, whether how governors fly, how they live, and we know stories of how Raj Bhawans have been redone.
I have an answer. Please excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I am entitled for business class travel. From day one, I always travel in economy class. When I went there, the expenses was too high. I brought the expenses of Raj Bhawan to 40%. I can't say because the Chief Minister is not here. If he is an elected man, it is not a certificate that he cannot be discussed. He is not there,
No,
but he has written me, just listen to me please. He has written to the governor. What I have inquired is, no, I have written to the president, what is the reason of my dismissal? You say
Have you
about
heard
my
from the
daughter-in-law,
president
no reply. You say my daughter-in-law. I say if she has drawn one single naya paisa in full 1 year for which I stayed there, hang me. And I have written this to the president, Prime Minister, Home Minister. I should be, for any one penny, if she has taken, I will give 1 lakh of rupees.
So your point
But we
is
get
to
excessively
come
here.
preoccupied
Your
with
point is, yes,
individual
but-
case.
but
that doesn't mean.
And on
But
the
let me
Yeah,
go back to,
Sonia,
yes, but let's
we
go back to the
came
larger
here
thing.
But
Yes,
you-
exactly.
then-
Discuss
with the
the-
understanding
not this
that
individual.
what you are discussing, the institution of the governor.
Correct.
We have not come here for a court martial of one individual or the other.
So let's come
Neither
back.
the
when
Lieutenant
she has-
Governor
when
nor
she-
the Chief Minister.
When she
No, I
has,
think in this case he was
when
responding to
she has
charges against his
pointed out- when
daughter-in-law.
she has
So he's
pointed
responded
about-
to that. Or I take that point, Mr.
Yeah, but I
Kataria.
think
So he
they are much
responded to
more
that.
serious
Yes,
charges.
but let's come back.
Yes,
Against
I
the
have-
centre and
if
the
you don't
governors.
want, where I should go, Mr.
Mr.
I have inquired. I want to go to the court of law from
But
Mr.
Mr. Kataria, you can
Bhardwaj.
actually go to the Supreme Court because the Supreme
No,
Court judgment of
he said
2010
they
has
will-
said
they
if
will-
they are malified that you can have a
I
case. So you
tell
can go to the Supreme Court.
that case of, it was started in 2004 and that case is ended in 2010. It took 6 years.
case?
And
This is the case
it
on
is so
appointment of
poor.
governors.
It is so
by
poor
Mr.
judgment.
Singhal. But that's a judgment of the Supreme Court. But let me come back to the question I asked Mr. Kaushal. You made your point, sir. As a taxpayer, do you think it's a waste of your money?
What waste?
Having governors and Raj Bhavans.
Let me tell you, you know
Could the
what,
Chief
what all
Justice do it?
governors
Could
do.
perhaps the President of India actually...
How? Suppose there is an ordinance and the ordinance on the face of it is unconstitutional. Who will check that? The Chief Justice? Ultimately, if the ordinance is challenged, who will it go to? It will go before the Chief Justice on the judicial side. Who will stop the Chief Minister from bringing an ordinance that is not right? Who will report about the economic situation? Who will report about the security situation? Who will summon the assembly? Who will have the floor test done? Who will
They are
judge
important
who has the
functions which they have to
majority?
perform.
I mean, if you see, under the present setup, unless there is an alternative mechanism like elected governors, but then if you have elected governors, you cannot have elected chief ministers.
Yes.
Right, both can't exist at the same time. Who is going to do this job? Is Chief Justice going to be an umpire or a referee as to this side has the majority and the other side doesn't have the
And so
majority?
there have been very many good governors.
Yes.
You know, people are picking on
Subramaniam.
some. I'm Dharamveera and all these
Sri
people are.
Subramaniam,
But
Barnala
people are
Saab,
eminent.
so many
Yes.
good people.
But in the recent past, have they become the exception?
It is the, you have to look at the
I think
context
you
in
have
which
to
the
see
governor.
the whole historical background.
What is the
I'm talking
context
about
now?
the recent past, not
No,
the current
there's been a decline of judicial institutions. There's been a decline of
All
political
wrong.
institutions.
All wrong.
Look at how the Lok Sabha functions now. So there has been a decline. In that decline, the governor walks
and
in.
who do you
He has
appoint?
limited powers. So how
Don't
much can he
appoint
do?
politicians because they are politicians. Don't appoint police officers because they are police officers. Don't appoint bureaucrats because they are bureaucrats. Then who do you appoint?
Journalists are the only ones left.
Journalists are the only
And
ones
lawyers.
I'm
left.
joking.
Ones left.
The lawyers are politicians nowadays.
Oh, lawyers are
Yes.
No, but
if you appoint judges, that is compromising the judiciary. I mean, same way, same thing can be said about everybody.